The Precious Amelia by Drops Design. Welcome to the challenge of knitting this beautiful little cardigan. You will need to download the pattern by Drops Design through garnstudio.com, which the link is on my site. And as well, I have created an errata sheet, which is where I feel that their instructions are slightly off, or I feel is a slightly better way to knit the garment. And so download that, and between those two documents I will walk you through the process of making this garment. I find sometimes Drops Design garments, although I love almost all of the patterns, they can be a bit challenging to follow, so you should be fine. So the first thing that it asks you to do, after there's some preliminary instructions regarding buttonhole sizes, etc., it just gets on to right away to cast on the appropriate numbers of stitches. I would go to my errata sheet with my suggested corrections on there for the number of stitches to cast on. Go ahead and cast on in whatever method that you feel comfortable with doing. And if you're a beginner, long tail cast on is just fine. What did I do? Because this is the bottom of the garment, and if I do long tail cast on, I tend to knit a bit too tight on the cast on. So I did the German twisted cast on. The link to that is on the site. Or the other method I would suggest you could do would be the knit. I'm not sure if it's knit cast on or knitted cast on. I've provided a little link to a video on how to do that. Or the long tail is fine. If you're a beginner, you just got to start knitting and don't be scared. And so just go ahead and do the long tail cast on. Maybe what I'd say is to avoid a bit of tightness at the bottom of this garment, and you're more comfortable in long tail cast on. Maybe I suggest that whatever size of needle you're doing, you up it at a half size or a size to do the cast on, and then continue on in the size of needle you're going to do based on your tension piece that you did. Okay, perfect. Now the next part after you've cast on your stitches, and I've got my little stitch markers because you'll see my tip to casting on a large number of stitches. So the next part of the instructions basically say to knit the next row, the next two rows in the garter stitch. Just knit the next two rows, which just means knit and knit. So that's what I also say in my errata sheet. The step 2, I say knit 2 rows of garter stitch. So go ahead and do that. Oh, and one extra little piece, when you go ahead and do your 2 rows of garter stitch, if you have used little stitch markers, take them out as you're doing your 2 rows of garter stitch.